Was was the Woolwich murder of Lee Rigby the opening act for ISIS and what's unfolded in recent times? The If you look at some of the work of people like Chris Spivey or Chris Spivey, it's very difficult to dispute it. Who was this guy Lee Rigby? Did he even exist? What is the story of this? Now, we were told, I mean, the way the whole thing happened in broad daylight and was filmed, and the so-called assailants hung around made no sense, but the media made such a big thing about beheading, 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 beheading. I remember that was called decapitation when I was growing up. But there's almost like a beheading Olympics began with that. It's been sort of non-stop. Well, not it hasn't been non-stop, but it's really been ramped up in the last couple of months with what's allegedly attributed to this fictional organization called ISIS. It just seems to be tied in. Now, some people out there are going to say, oh, well, what's the press? Like this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. That they would stage this, in order to whip up, both radicals on both sides. I can tell you that the Lee Rigby, alleged murder, killing in Woolwich, I was disgusted by some of the comments I saw about Muslims on, on the Facebook wall. People I know were literally, they were going bonkers. It's time to get them back. It's time to burn down mosques. It's time to do this to the Muslims, do that to the Muslims. And it was just unbelievable that it was deliberately done for that reason. So they were trying to just deliberately radicalize non-Muslims against Muslims, and then you have the situation with the ISIS thing where they're saying come on over, which I believe is a sting operation. I also believe the whole thing is a sting operation to round up, white Christian radicals who want to go fight the Muslims. People would be inclined towards racist violence, or sectarian violence. It would be almost like as if well, I think they did in Northern Ireland do it for the same reason. I think that's what internment was when they rounded up the, large numbers of Catholics and locked them up without trial in the Maze and Long Kesh. I think a lot of that was done to, like Bloody Sunday, to deliberately radicalize young nationalists in Northern Ireland. And I'm seeing the same with the Lee Rigby thing and ISIS thing. Now you would say, well, that's crazy that they would use a dead body on the street like that to create this. And what I would say to those muppets, assuming that it isn't real, right? Let's assume it isn't. I would say to those muppets that during the Second World War, the British High Command deliberately dumped a body off the coast of Spain that had the fake invasion plans for the Allied invasion against the Third Reich, and it gave completely false plans. The idea was to send the Germans to the wrong place, and it worked actually, to the wrong place, because they knew that Franco Spain would be sympathetic with the Germans and they would pass, because they had a pact, they would pass on this information. So they've been using this kind of thing before. Don't assume, it's like the historic sex abuse. They try to tell you it's a psyop, like, these sex abuses only happened in the past because they're historic. It's the same kind of idea. They have people think, that was back then, they'd never do it now. They'd never do it now. And this has been a great psyop that's been played upon us. And I'm starting to now draw a line between Woolwich and ISIS. And it's become more and more apparent that they're deliberately fueling sectarian tensions between Muslims and non-Muslims in the West with the purpose of genuinely radicalizing ones on both sides. so they can scoop them up and do a Northern Ireland style internment on them. I think in the case of the ISIS, they're just killing them, but whipping them all up. And I think it's a deliberate radicalization in order to rout out anyone in society who may have revolutionary tendencies, be they Muslims or no Muslims. I think there's a lot more can be filled in on that line between Woolwich and ISIS, and I'd like to hear your comments on that. Thanks very much.